When the floodwaters finally receded at the agonizing end of our last journey into Gotham, the city wasn't washed clean. The rain didn't absolve anyone. In fact, that violent surge of water only stirred up the deepest, darkest, most infectious muck that had been settling at the bottom of the city for generations. The unresolved, bloody sins lingering from that first cinematic nightmare are about to violently resurface. I've been poring over the shadows, connecting the whispered casting announcements and the clandestine production leaks, and let me tell you, there is a massive, generational conspiracy brewing right beneath our feet. This isn't just another sequel, it's an impending collision course of trauma, systemic corruption, and brutal vengeance. The architect of this universe, Matt Reeves, gave us a massive, undeniable clue about where this nightmare is heading. He stated, plainly, that the seeds of where this goes are all in the first movie. I want to understand exactly what he means by this, because it tells us that the true hidden plot of this upcoming cinematic epic has been lurking in plain sight this entire time. We are not starting fresh. We are harvesting the bitter, poisoned fruit that the Riddler planted in the minds of Gotham's elite. Let me explain exactly how this sinister board is being set.
To figure out exactly where we're going, I first had to look at the broken men who are actually still standing. Reeves has been incredibly deliberate, using specific, chilling messages to announce his returning cast. For Robert Pattinson's battered Bruce Wayne, it was a haunting, "We meet again, my friend." For Jeffrey Wright's Jim Gordon, who spent the climax taking cover under heavy sniper fire, it was a weary, "Here we go again." And for Andy Serkis's Alfred, a pointed, terrifying, "Are you ready, my friend?" referencing that explosive, targeted letter that nearly incinerated him. These aren't just casual announcements, they're warnings. Every single one of these men barely survived the last round, and their psychological scars are still completely raw, bleeding out into the city they are desperately trying to save.
The board is already set, and the surviving players are scrambling for whatever power remains. On one side, we have Colin Farrell's Oz Cobb, now a hardened, ruthless crime kingpin after the savage events of his own recent power grabs, getting a menacing round two, my friend. We have Mayor Bella Real welcomed back to the fight, tasked with the impossible burden of managing a hopelessly fractured city. We even have the return of Officer Martinez. This maps out our active criminal underbelly and our fraud political battleground. Everyone is in place, desperate to hold their ground. But the environment they're bleeding for, that is, drastically, dangerously changing.
The very fabric of Gotham is freezing over. If you remember, the entire aesthetic of the 2022 film was drenched in a bloody, oppressive, suffocating red. But a stark, chilling reality is taking over. Looking at the aesthetic currently spotted on the cameras filming in the snowy Birkenhead Tunnel in Liverpool, I noticed a deliberate, terrifying color shift. A black bat on a cold, freezing blue. The warmth, even the violent warmth of the red blood, is totally gone. We're entering the absolute dead of winter in Gotham, where a stunt double has already been spotted riding the icy roof of a shattered Gotham PD squad car through this freezing, desolate tunnel.
I dug into exactly how this freezing, isolating world is being captured, and it is crucial to understanding the horror to come. Analyzing the early camera tests reveals a highly specific, tactile technology at play. The production is using the Alexa 265, but they've paired it with a completely bespoke 65mm custom lens, utilizing a 1.3x anamorphic squeeze and shooting with the iris wide open at T2. So what does this actually mean for us? It means a razor-thin, incredibly shallow depth of field. Characters will be sharply, painfully in focus, while the cold, snowy world immediately around them falls into a terrifying, blurry abyss. It's visually claustrophobic. It traps you right inside Bruce Wayne's fragmented, deteriorating psyche, with the monsters lurking just out of focus.
But Bruce isn't the only one trapped by the ghosts of his family's past. The new faces entering Gotham aren't just your average street-level thugs. They are Gotham royalty stepping into a ruined kingdom. There's a heavy, undeniable emphasis on a very specific tragic lineage, the Dent family. We aren't just getting a rogue prosecutor rising and falling in a vacuum. We're getting an entire sprawling, influential family tree, and that fundamentally changes the scale and the tragedy of this entire narrative.
We've got Sebastian Stan stepping into the iconic, doomed shoes of Harvey Dent, but the real wild card I noticed here is the man standing right behind him, Charles Dance, an actor who absolutely radiates intimidating, ruthless patriarchal energy, has been cast as Christopher Dent, Harvey's father. The moment this was revealed, the grand tragedy totally clicked into place for me. We're not just watching the isolated fall of one idealistic district attorney. We're watching a sprawling, generational crime story take form. This is a story about fathers and sons, and the absolute, suffocating weight of family expectations crushing a man until he literally breaks in two.
And there is a fascinating, massive real-world details surrounding this that I just couldn't ignore. Sebastian Stan is firmly rooted in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Bucky Barnes, a marquee character. But with this new Batman chapter dropping in October 2027, wedged right between the colossal releases of Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, this scheduling conflict practically screams a massive spoiler. An actor doesn't just casually step away from the climax of the biggest superhero franchise on Earth to do a dark, gritty Batman movie unless the material is utterly undeniable. It essentially confirms to me that Stan's Marvel character is likely going to meet a grim fate in Doomsday, freeing his schedule completely to become the tortured Harvey Dent in this isolated, prestigious Gotham saga.
So, who else is lurking in the shadows of this frozen, corrupt city? We have mysterious, unnamed additions like Sebastian Koch and Brian Tyree Henry cast in unknown roles. Now, I've been looking closely at the board, analyzing the gaps in Gotham's law enforcement, and I strongly deduce that Brian Tyree Henry is stepping in to play the legendary, morally gray Gotham PD detective Harvey Bullock. Henry already exists on the fringes of the DC world with a small, haunting role in the 2019 Joker film, and bringing his immense screen presence to a gritty, street-level detective role would perfectly match the bleak, compromised tone of this universe. But what is this story truly about? Screenwriter Mattson Tomlin made a promise that genuinely ramps up the dread. He stated, "We worked exceptionally hard to tell a story, something that feels new and dangerous." Now, when people see snow in Gotham, the immediate lazy theory is that we're getting a Mr. Freeze movie. I'm completely discarding that right now. A sci-fi villain with a fantastical cryosuit fundamentally breaks the grounded, hyper-realistic rules that Matt Reeves has so meticulously established. The real danger here isn't a man shooting ice beams. The danger is deeply psychological. It's a rot rooted far, far back in the past. To fully understand this new, suffocating danger, I realize we have to connect the blood-soaked string right back to the first film. We have to look at the cowardly, deadly cover-up orchestrated by Bruce's own father, Thomas Wayne. When journalist Edward Elliot was aggressively investigating the Wayne family's darkest secrets, Thomas panicked. Terrified that the ugly truth would destroy his pristine mayoral campaign, he turned to the city's worst monster, Carmine Falcone, to silence Elliot. Falcone did it the only way a mobster knows how, with a permanent, brutal hit. This single, disgusting act of desperation was the domino that set the entire city's corruption into hyperdrive.
And what was that explosive, catastrophic secret Edward Elliot was about to leak to the press? It was the original sin of this universe, Martha Arkham's legacy of blood. The Riddler unearthed the horrific truth that Bruce's mother, originally Martha Arkham, came from a deeply disturbed, violent lineage. Her own mother brutally murdered her father before taking her own life. A profound, horrific trauma that cast a generational shadow of absolute madness over the Arkham bloodline, landing Martha in and out of horrific institutions. The Wayne and Arkham families used their unimaginable sprawling wealth to bury this nightmare deep, deep underground.
This brings me to the absolute terrifying reality at the core of Bruce Wayne's existence. He knows his father made a fatal, cowardly mistake. He knows his mother suffered terribly. But he doesn't know the full truth of what actually courses through his veins, and that ignorance is going to get him killed. The ghosts of the Arkham legacy aren't just hovering in the background anymore. They're actively clawing their way back to the surface to collect their due. Gotham's legacy of lies, madness, and murder is Bruce's legacy too, and he is entirely unprepared for the reckoning.
And this perfectly sets the stage for what I believe is the massive, paradigm-shifting reveal of this movie. The casting announcement read, "Next exit Gotham welcome," accompanied by an incredibly eerie, unsettling shot of Scarlett Johansson. She's widely believed to be stepping into the role of Gilda Dent, Harvey's wife. But looking closely at the deeply unnerving, predatory nature of that specific teaser image, an image dripping with deception and a cold, calculating emptiness, it hints at something deeply sinister hiding just beneath her beautiful surface. Now, I completely refuse to accept the surface-level narrative here. Scarlett Johansson is one of the biggest, most formidable movie stars on the planet. She is arguably the second biggest star in this entire film, right behind Pattinson. You do not hire a titan of that caliber to play a weeping widow in the background. You do not bring her in just to stand by and look worried while her husband loses his mind. Absolutely not. You hire Scarlett Johansson to play the puppet master. She is going to be incredibly central to the absolute darkest parts of this plot.
Here is my grand theory. The exact missing puzzle piece that binds all of this sprawling tragedy together. I believe Gilda Dent will be revealed as an Arkham. I believe they're perfectly seamlessly merging her character with the deadly Lady Arkham from DC lore, specifically Victoria Arkham. The seeds are all there, planted in the very soil of the first movie. The Arkham family trauma, the buried institutional secrets, the unpunished sins of the wealthy elite.
If Harvey Dent unknowingly marries into the poisoned Arkham bloodline, the catastrophic collision course between the Dents, the Arkhams, and the Waynes is completely locked in. The trap is sprung.
Now, the only reason this horrific generational trauma is even allowed to exist on screen right now is because of a massive corporate loophole known as Elseworlds. This gritty franchise is a distinct, self-contained cinematic universe operating completely independent of James Gunn and Peter Safran's upcoming mainline, colorful DC universe. This isolation is a brilliant creative shield. It means this Batman doesn't have to worry about Superman flying overhead to save the day. He only has to worry about the deep, inescapable rot devouring his own city.
But this creative shield is under immense corporate threat. With the massive reality of Paramount potentially acquiring Warner Bros., the stability of running multiple, conflicting superhero universes is literally hanging by a thread. Can audiences really handle two entirely separate live-action Gothams existing at the exact same time in theaters? Will the new studio executives have the patience to let this dark, agonizingly slow-burn crime saga breathe and survive while they try to build a massive, cheerful cinematic universe next door? The real danger isn't just in Gotham. It's whether this specific, brilliant version of Gotham will be allowed to live at all.
Which brings us right back down to the freezing, icy streets of Gotham for one absolutely chilling realization. The Waynes, the Arkhams, the Dents. These are the supposed pillars of the city, and every single one of them is built on a crumbling foundation of lies, murder, and utter madness. The sins of the father have not been paid yet. An inevitable, hyper-violent collision is coming between these three families, and Bruce Wayne is standing blindly right at the epicenter. When the past finally comes to collect its heavy debt, the Batman won't be strong enough to survive the crash. When the snow finally melts, will Gotham even be left with a hero, or will it only be left with the Arkhams?